Good morning students. Today we will study about hardware interrupts. Interrupts can be of two types. One is hardware interrupt, another one is software interrupt. Hardware interrupt means the interrupts which are coming from the external devices or from the peripheral devices. And in the other hand, software interrupt means the interrupts which are coming from the instructions written in a program or due to some programs inside a system. Okay, but here we have to study about hardware interrupts and how it works, what it will does, what a system will does if more number of interrupts coming. Okay, as with a system or a system is connected with more number of devices, so we have to we have to do or we have to organize all the interrupts. Okay? So let's start. In hardware interrupt, all devices are connected to the interrupt request line. Okay? Let me give a brief idea what it will does. That when more number of devices connected to a system, the more number of peripheral devices, you can call it, or IO devices connected to a system, each hardware or each peripheral devices is associated with a switch, and if it has to request an interrupt, then a device has to close its associated switch. Okay, that means when it closes its switch, that means it sends the request or it requests an interrupt and the request is accepted, so it will close its request. That means it cannot continue its request. And if let's take an what case that if n number of devices are connected with a system and all the n devices closes their switch, then what it will how it will overcome from this, that the cases will rise that the request line reaches its optimum value. Okay, it's something depth, will not go through all these things. Okay, and so we have using an logical OR concept. Okay, and when a device requests an interrupt, the value of INTR, it is a variable you can call, or like when like in previously we were taking A, B, C, D and we are giving the values 1, 0, 0. Let 3 bits we are taking A, B, C for example, and it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0 like this. And here is a variable is your INTR, interrupt request. So when more number of devices request an interrupt and a device is closest its associated switch, let 5 devices request an interrupt and all devices closest its associated switch, but we have to activate one. Okay, we have to activate one, and one interrupt can be executed at a time, as we are having a processor and processor can do or can perform at a time one work. Okay, or it can execute one program at a time, so it has to pause the previous program, whatever it will do. We are using the logical OR concept with the request from individual devices. Okay, logical OR means it has to be 0. Okay, so if it is an AND operation, then if one is 0, then all will be 0. But in logical OR case, that will not bring the result. If one is 0, other 1, then the result can be 1. Okay, And what are the events we have to handle in this request? If first the device raises an interrupt request IRQ and processor interrupts the program currently being executed. In the previous concept, we know that when an interrupt comes, then the program has to pause the currently executed program and receives the request of the interrupt, and then it will execute that interrupts, and after the completion of the interrupt execution, it again resumes the currently executed process or program. Now it has to interrupt the program currently being executed. The device is informed that its request has been recognized, and the device deactivates the request signal. Okay, that means you have to inform the device that your request has been recognized and it is accepted, so you have to deactivate the request signal so that other devices can request signal, as a single request line is used for all the n devices. If a device is continuing its request, then other devices cannot able to send their request, so it has to deactivate the request signal once it is accepted. Okay, and then the requested action is performed, or the interrupt is going to be executed. We have to execute the interrupt or in this program. Okay, here we can call it as interrupt service routine, and then interrupt is enabled and the interrupt signal is resumed. Okay, then last action is performed, then interrupt is enabled. That means other hardware devices can now request their interrupts, and then the program which is paused or interrupted, that can be resumed and it can continue in its execution until another interrupt comes. Okay? It's all about your hardware interrupts. Thank you.